We on the air? What's poppin', everybody? Back like we never left, and I know, I'm late. It's the next week. The Viz is out, for Christ's sake. I know. However, I had to get this video out because I want to make this a thing. I didn't want to lose a video as far as on a chapter. And again, these videos will be coming for Hunter x Hunter soon enough. I know it's becoming a meme, but bear with me, please. Had a crazy weekend, and thank you guys for your patience, but we're going to get into the chapter now. But before we get into the chapter, quick recap of last chapter. Last chapter, the Straw Hats got attacked. Luffy got mad, attacked Kaido. That ended the chapter. Before that, we had the stuff with Maru and Jack. So last chapter was pretty eventful. So this chapter had a lot to live up to. The conversation revolved around Luffy and whether or not Luffy, well, the motive behind why Luffy did things. And I feel like this chapter pretty much fleshed out and explained all these things in a way that is clearer to understand as far as the motivations in regards to what Luffy was doing. I think this chapter did a good job of doing that. So as these things pop up, I'll point them out as far as the things I said last chapter and how I think they relate in any way. Per usual, though, before we get into the chapter, we have to talk about the community. I love the community. It's a blessing to be a part of it, and I thank you guys all the time for allowing me to be a part of it. However, the community it's filled with people that react. Every week it's a different reaction. What I mean by that is that people use one small thing and overreact. Someone asked me if I was serious when I said I would change Luffy's rank is in the top 30 list based on what happened in this chapter. No. This does not change how I feel about Luffy at all. No. Because it's pretty much what I expected. So this doesn't change anything. But before we jump ahead, if you're here for the first time, make sure you like the video and subscribe. We make these videos every week in addition to other content. So appreciate you guys for sticking around this long. For real this time, let's jump into the chapter. So again, One Piece chapter 923. We're going to get right into the manga. The Viz is already out, so I'm going to use the Viz for this. And of course, we're going to have the analysis dropping this week. We're going to dissect it in detail based on the Viz. But it's going to be me or myself, Dritz, Froop, Lando. Per usual, may have a guest. But wow. One Piece chapter 923. I'm seeing a lot of chatter. I see it all the time. And people are coming back. They're not announcing it, but they're coming back because they see the hype around it. They understand what's going on. You feel it. You feel it. Nobody even has to say anything. You feel it, what's happening in the community. One Piece has had several chapters of absolute greatness. 923 chapters to be exact. But the most recent chapters have been phenomenal. Okay. I want to address a few things. Okay, first let's talk about the cover page. Pretty standard Ace Sabo Luffy cover page. We have the Beatles. We have Luffy wearing the shirt. You've heard it. There's nothing much more to dissect with the cover page. It is what it is. I love seeing it. It's nostalgic. Nothing more because it's a fan request. And you guys know how much I love Ace. I was about to say Ace, Luffy, and Sabo, but I don't like Ace. I don't like Sabo and Luffy nearly as much as I like Ace. Because I feel like Sabo is pretty much a knockoff of Ace. Less interesting. But I still like him. And Luffy, I like Luffy a lot, but I like Ace a little more. But anyway, I digress. Again, last chapter, Luffy attacked Kaido. And the the reaction around everything was that immediately we went from Kaido being a monster to Lido to Kaido being trash. Immediately. And again, I don't want to focus in on the negatives too much because I'm in a community in which I'm seeing a limited amount of people. I'm not interacting with millions of people at a time. I'm interacting with the people that I come across on a daily basis. And based on what people were saying, they were saying that a chapter, based off the end of the chapter, Kaido is trash. Knowing what I know now, being a part of this community for a few years now, a lot of people troll with that because they know it triggers a lot of people. But some people are serious that Kaido is not as strong as we're making him out to be. Whatever, the end of the chapter ends like that, and the community goes off, and immediately, the community goes to what happened with Big Mom. They talk about how underwhelming Big Mom was due to the limitations of her eating. And with Kaido, the comparisons were there talking about him being drunk. Again, I had a conversation on Twitter with Joy Boy. Shout out to Joy Boy Theories. One of my friends on the YouTube platform, one of my favorite YouTubers, one of my favorite One Piece YouTubers. So, had a conversation about it. And the conversation revolved around how I felt once I saw Kaido and realized he was drunk. You guys can check out his video. It's all there. And my response, he's like, how did you feel about it? How did you feel about Kaido, again, being a drunk? Because I saw your reaction. I just want to know how you felt and how you were thinking. And it was, not again. Please don't do this again. He's like, that's interesting. Because that's how a lot of us felt. When we saw Kaido being drunk, we immediately thought to Big Mom, and we said, is this going to be the determining factor of Kaido going down? It's going to play a part. But we agreed, not as big as in Whole Cake. I say that to say this. We have to take the chapters on a week-to-week basis. Yes, it's okay to project. There's nothing wrong with projecting based on what you know. But we can't jump off the cliff. We cannot jump to conclusions. When you do so, you become disappointed and you start training your brain and you expect disappointment because you already foresee something. That's what you want. And when you don't get that, everything is underwhelming to you. So project, don't conclude. A lot of people concluded things after Kaido and Luffy last chapter. People have conclusions about Big Mom already, which I feel like are very premature. Very premature. But people have those. So we've seen an entire arc of her, Brago. Why does it matter what I think about her? I think she's trash. So you can stop the Straw Hats from entering her territory and doing whatever they wanted to do. And that is different from any other arc. How? In what arc did the Straw Hats not do what they wanted to do? There is a single moment in every single One Piece arc in which the Straw Hats do something that's drastic, that changes the game, that just completely, how do I say this? A very impactful moment in every arc in which they stamp and they let you know that they were here. We can go down the line. From getting rid of Kurohado, from getting rid of Don Krieg, Crocodile, Doflamingo, Moria, burning the world government's flag, Luffy escaping Impel Down. The Straw Hats run amok everywhere they go. They're like a disaster. When they come on your island, they're gonna wreak havoc, destroying factories, freeing toys. They do this every single time. Every antagonist, they go through this because the Straw Hats, in particular Luffy, they have a gift. They have immense luck. And again, because of just what narrative is, because of how you write a story, this is just what has to happen. It's an adventure. They're going to get into shit. Look at the cast of characters. They're going to get into stuff. So saying that whatever happened on Whole Cake was underwhelming in some way really is, it literally doesn't make sense. Because you could say that's the hardest time the Straw Hats have had. Granted, they did not have their entire crew. But I've heard time and time again that they made up for it with their allies, which I certainly agree with. With the addition of Jinbei, Vergerma, Capone, they more than made up for who they did not have. So that is not an excuse. But they were still at their wits' end. They were captured. They were done. They were done. And things happened for them to get away and overcome it. So no, Whole Cake Island, as far as Big Mom and how her family looked, was indeed not trash. People are calling Kaido's crew trash 5 chapters in. Hold'em got a Red Hawk to the face by Luffy. Do you expect him not to be knocked out? If he is knocked out, people have a problem. Oh, he was too weak. If he's not knocked out, people have a problem because Luffy should be stronger than this. What are we mad about? We're going to be mad either way. Anyway, Luffy hits Kaido this arc, this chapter. And the initial reaction, Oda is brilliant for doing this. He makes you think that Luffy in some way has a clear upper hand. Kaido slamming into the ground. I was really flabbergasted when I first saw that. It was almost like my heart dropped. Like, no. No, Oda, don't do this. Don't give Luffy that. And I didn't want to elaborate too much because I didn't want to jump the gun. And of course, in reactions, sometimes it's easy to jump the gun because you're just telling people how you feel at the time and how it's vibing with you. It's easy to jump the gun. People get mad at me all the time when I do it because I look at something and I start talking about theories as far as possibilities, what I see happening. People are like, bro, just read the damn story, bro. Stop giving us predictions and read page 4. But that's just how my mind works. So that's why it leads to videos like this in which I'm telling you what my mind is thinking as I'm going through the chapter. And as I'm going through this chapter, I'm thinking, no, absolute no. What is Luffy doing? After Luffy hits Kaido, I gotta say, his attire is amazing. Him with the sword and the Wano garb, amazing. I love it. I love seeing Luffy in action. And maybe Oda is doing this aesthetically on purpose, but sometimes Luffy looks really muscular, really toned. And of course, he was toned in every other arc. But these sets of chapters, it's clear. They keep pounding home the narrative that he's attacking Kaido. He's attacking Kaido? That is something that people don't normally do. And he's doing it repeatedly. What I'm interested in is Maru here. And that's no surprise if you guys have watched my previous videos on how I feel about Maru. But he sends his subordinates back to the mountain. He had a bad feeling about something. A bad feeling. Again, Maru more than likely is Ashura Doji who got away from Kaido back in the day. And Kaido, at this point, seems like he doesn't even want to kill this man. Anything wrong with that? Not really. But still, Maru is a threat. If he declines, you should take him out. But Maru, what are you worried about? What is this bad feeling that you have? We continue on. We come across Speed. Was anybody surprised that Speed was knocked out or attacked and Tama was nowhere to be found? Or initially, no, I wasn't. I absolutely was not shocked. The reason why I wasn't shocked was because I didn't understand the logic of sending Tama away with a stranger. I don't care what her power is. This is the results. This is the consequence of that. Speed and Tama run into Kaido. Kaido says he's been hearing some crazy stories about Speed, and he just defeats Speed because Speed tried to protect her master because she ate her devil fruit power, her mochi. Then I just didn't understand the movie. I feel like there were so many other moves they could make than doing that, but that's what they did. One thing about Luffy is that he doesn't like when his friends get hurt. That sets him off. But before we get there, last chapter I talked about Luffy not not being driven by rage when he attacked Kaido. Last chapter. If it's not more apparent now, it never will be. Luffy was acting based off of something he had to do, which is protect his friends. Because right after, he was worried about his friends. He was worried about his friends. People were saying he attacked because he's trying to beat up Luffy. No. We've seen Luffy enraged. This chapter is clear. When he's mad, that's what he does. He had motive behind him punching Kaido. Punch Kaido. I hope my friends are okay. I hope my friends are okay. What does that tell you? That was clear distraction to stop Kaido temporarily. That's it. So I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that Luffy somewhat validated some of the things that I was saying about him, that he's not just going in there expecting a full-on fight. Luffy's going in there with purpose. Knowing the climate. Of course, he said, if I take him out now, then I don't have to fight him in the future. No. Luffy, more than anyone, should understand the stakes here, especially after the Tama news. Now, people are asking, do you think Tama is dead? No. I think she still has too much importance in regards to the Ace thing and her own development for her to be dead. Luffy was at first upset that he wasn't with Tama. And again, I don't feel bad for him because you should have been with Tama. After attacking Kaido and somewhat losing track of his sight or his eyes, he lost track of you. Law says we should take the moment. Let's run away. Knowing how big he is, he might not even realize what just happened. And this... Oh, man. This is why you want Luffy to grow. Not only physically, but mentally. He said, if I destroy him now, it's all over with anyway. We don't even know if Kinemon's crew, my crew or your crew. Luffy says, if I destroy him now, it's all over anyway. We don't even know if Kinemon's crew, my crew, if it's Kinemon's crew, my crew, or your crew. Then he yells at Kaido saying, I'm right here, Kaido. Like he did at the Tea Party. I'm right here, Big Mom. Literally went in front of Blackbeard to fight him because of the Ace thing, but that's Luffy's thing. That's what he does. Kaido's intimidating as hell. And Kaido he says, and you are? And he says, the man who become king of the pirates. And that had me thinking. Luffy should understand the weight that comes with those words, right? Luffy's words. The way he interprets it and calls himself the king of the pirates, he's the man who will become the king of the pirates. Those are heavy words. And I'm saying those are heavy words because a lot comes with that. So for Luffy and how he says that every arc, several times he says that, has he been taking that for granted? Has Luffy been skating through the new world? Luffy says he'll become Pirate King almost every arc, and there are not major consequences for doing so. This chapter, Kaido asks who he was, and he says he's going to be the king of the pirates, and Kaido immediately attacked him. Why is that? Because you're saying that you're going to be the ruler of me. You're saying, even though you're a child, that you're going to get my poneglyph. Not only mine, but my peers. People I already consider my peer. You're going to overcome all that to defeat me. Huh? That's disrespectful. Very disrespectful. So Kaido immediately attacks Luffy. Luffy's attacks on Kaido are not devastating when you first see them. When you go back, Luffy is using Gatling. He's using Kong guns. All of this to attack Kaido, to try to hurt Kaido. And even the people are still watching saying, yo, he's pummeling Kaido. So again, the people are getting inspired by whoever he is. Whoever this kid is that's pounding Kaido right now, that's amazing. Because he attacked a flying dragon. Inspiration. That's still the motive here. To inspire. Will be the case in the entire chapter? Absolutely not. Also, I want to talk about Kaido falling out of his dragon form. People are quick to defend that Luffy didn't do it. Luffy wasn't the cause. It wasn't him. Kaido just did it on his own. Regardless of if Kaido did it on his own, he fell after getting punched by Luffy. So you got to give Luffy some credit. And Luffy was able to get him out of his dragon form. How strong is that form? We don't know. Because that form was able to take Luffy's punches and bounce right back, but it fell. And Luffy turned back to his human form. I'm not mad at it. Just because of what happened after the fact. We get it. For Luffy, at this point, it's growing pains. This had to happen. A wake-up call. This was exquisite. Because Luffy not only knocks Kaido out of his dragon form, he goes gear 4th. And again, it goes back to what I talked about Luffy being upset. That's Luffy upset. Gear 4th. He was not nearly as upset like he was after this chapter. And he goes gear 4th like people were mad that he didn't go last time. It's a progression. It's a progressive system. He let y'all know he was mad. He went gear 4th and pulled out every single strong attack gear 4th had. Get it. That's just how things are. Get it. But we can't get mad at something because it doesn't happen the way we want to. But then when it does happen, we dismiss it and say, oh, well, that was great. I'm going to give you some gear 4th attacks. Now, Kaido, from what we know, wants to die. Several suicide missions. But Luffy attacks Kaido. And it's like he's almost expecting to be hit and he's just taking it. He has weird moments where he's looking at Luffy and you can't tell if it's disgust or wonder. Can this person really kill me? Eventually we got to have that conversation. But Kaido's taking all these attacks from Luffy. Again, I'm reading the Viz. In the regular translations, it said that Kaido's side. In the Viz, Kaido just says, For that, Shutamaru again says, who is that fella? My assessment of Shutamaru is that he still believes in people and he will have hope. And this is Shutamaru asking again who Luffy is. Inspiration. Kaido attacks Luffy in Gear 4 Thunder Bagua and Luffy's done. And then he adds insult to injury by saying, what king was that? Boy? That's why I asked the question as far as like, what's more disrespectful? In regards to this chapter. The same people that said he was trash last week were ready to jump on Kaido to trash somebody else. It's like we cannot understand where both parties can be impressive. Kaido gets pounded by Luffy, changes over, one-shots Luffy. There's something to that. Him one-shotting Luffy. It's not just, for order to hype the Yonkos. It's to send a message to the supernovas. An additional message. Because Kaido have had messages for the supernovas for a while, which we won't revisit here. But he's had messages and he had feelings about the supernovas. Like they said, Kaido wants Luffy in law because they interfered with his business. This speaks volumes in regards to the Yonko. Luffy will be what he is. And he's one of the most fun characters to rate because we know so much about him. For Kaido, that's a mountain you have to climb. That's something you have to scale. You have to overcome this mountain. You're not doing so with just will. You have to overcome this mountain with skill, tactics, all of that. Because Kaido is a force, an immovable object that you have to move. That's going to take a lot. Especially based on how Luffy went out this chapter. I know a lot of people, when they read this chapter, they thought about Kid as well. Now, Kid has a lot of unfinished business. So I don't think that is going to be Luffy and Kid in a cell. I know a lot of people are hoping for that because they want more interaction between Luffy and Kid. Luffy has too many allies there right now for it to go down that way. Shikamaru, at this point, we can consider him an ally. Going forward, it will be clear. But he's still a little worried about like what's going on. A little worried. But he made it clear how he's feeling. Overall, I give this chapter, especially on the reread, like an 8.5 to a 9. The action sequences were great. Some of the art was amazing. Finding out more about Kaido was great. Seeing where Gear 4 stacks up to the top tiers is great. Because we honestly thought Gear 4 could really hang with an admiral. That was the thought process, bro. That's what people were saying. Now it's like, whoa, no, whoa. Hindsight is always 20/20. I really cannot wait to see what happens next chapter as far as what Shikamaru is going to do, what Law is going to do, because Law is the person that people are looking at saying, why didn't you do anything? Where I cannot get mad at Law for not doing anything when he specifically told Luffy, you shouldn't do anything. We have a flight to catch. Are you trying to ruin it? Now you're mad that Law doesn't do anything when he told him not to react, not to do anything? At what cost do you stop protecting Straw Hat? I would say last chapter is probably better than this chapter. In regards to overall story, or they're on the same level. Because just what happened to Luffy, it's hard to top that. And the thing is, people are thinking that the idea is like, oh, if you're happy that Luffy's knocked out, you're not a real Luffy fan, which couldn't be further from the truth. I don't have to justify why I like Luffy and why I'm a Luffy fan, but all I can say is I'm a Luffy fan. And the reason why this is satisfying is not because of who it is. It's because of what the message sends, of the message that it sends. It's basically saying, this is not a game, champ. It's not a game. Go back to Whole Cake. You got knocked out. You got knocked out by the enraged army. You got stuck in a cage. Jinbei had to save you. Fought Big Mom again. Didn't do any damage. Then got one-shotted out of Gear 4th. Now you attack Kaido. He one-shots you with his mace. What do you do now? How do you bounce back? What do you do? Again, he was the strongest person on Wano that we were aware of. And nobody ever disputed that. Nobody ever, well, from the people I know, did not think at any point Luffy could beat Kaido. Right now, at least. You expect something to happen, then some growth. So this is pretty much what we expected, but I like what the message sends for the narrative. That, okay, we got to tighten up a little bit. A lot of it. Especially based on what happened. Because Luffy took one hit, it was done. We got to tighten up. Everyone. This is key right now. Knowing when to run away is very smart as well. You got to commend that. But Luffy is indeed in trouble. I don't care how many people are there in regards to moving him out the way. It's going to be a quick tussle to figure out what they're going to do. For Kaido as well, it's my last point. Again, this chapter was mostly offensively driven. So there's only so many themes we can touch on. But for Kaido, again, he did not sigh in the viz. But for a lot of these hits he took, it's possible those were intentional. Like, because that's just how he fights. He takes hits. Because if I'm fighting someone and they're dodging my attacks, I'm a lot more frustrated if I'm hitting them and it's not doing anything. Because then at least I'm like, damn, if I could just hit him, then I'm good. If I could just hit him. But if I'm hitting him, it's not doing anything, then it's like, what do you draw from? It's demoralizing. What's also interesting is that also Luffy had moments in which he put all of his haki into his fists. Nothing was on his bottom part of his leg. None. After doing this and attacking Kaido with this technique he starts wheezing. So that begged me to ask Luffy, by overexerting yourself that way, you put someone in danger. You were selfless by jumping in for your friends. Because after you were about to run away. Now for Tama, you can understand the frustration, but this was another opportunity to make sure the plan goes well. And you didn't care. You were upset, so you had to vent. That's selfish. What he did last chapter, absolutely not selfish. This chapter, that's selfish. Because then he's reacting off of emotion. It is not a logical decision. It's emotion. It's emotionally driven. You cannot back that. You cannot support that. In this situation, there are moments where emotions play a huge part in One Piece, and I appreciate Luffy for those moments. Not this moment here. We needed you to listen. You made a great decision to jump in from the start after Kaido attacked them one time because you stopped it. They had to give him some chance to get away. Then you're going to go look after them to make sure they were okay. Brilliant. But then Tama and Speed played a factor in which now you're mad. You in Gear 4th. You're wheezing. Now you just got knocked out of Gear 4th. Now what? Now what? What about you? What about the others? How do you feel about the others now? Yes, it's interesting for you to get an idea of how strong this person is because more than likely you're going to fight again. It's a lot to overcome. Kaido is intimidating. He's overwhelming. You think about him, and again, Big Mom, Whitebeard, Blackbeard, and Shanks. Shanks is among these monsters. I hope Luffy learns a little bit from this. Because I don't want Luffy to change as a character. I want Luffy to grow as a character. And I feel like he's grown a lot. He has, as a character, from when we've seen him previously. He understands the stakes. He understands that sometimes you're going to need more sacrifice than others. He still can't control his emotions per se, but he understands more, a lot more. Preparations, rations, provisions. He understands the need and the necessity for a lot of these things. But when he's emotional, thinking goes away. I think Luffy has learned from Ace. What do you learn from Ace? What do you learn from Ace's death? Honestly, like if you're in Ace's shoes, what do you learn from that? If somebody's stronger than you, you run away? I don't think so. Because you should learn the opposite. Where you learn it's not about strength. It's about belief. What are you willing to die for? He's willing to die for his little brother. What are you willing to die for? So to say Luffy didn't learn his lesson, like I said, last chapter protecting his friends and jumping in the fray just like that, you can learn that from Ace because he realized how important his crew was to him after Ace died. He did not learn to run away from Ace. Ace never ran. So when people say he didn't learn anything from Ace's death, it's perplexing to me because I want to know what would you have learned? What would you have learned? Sometimes we try to force a correlation. Yeah, because you went through that situation, this should make you change as a person. No. It helps you grow, but fundamentally, almost always you remain the same person. Of course, there's traumatic experiences that completely change one's character. That didn't happen to Luffy. A lot of doubt crept into his mind because of losing his crew before and then losing his brother right in his arms. He had to learn that at the end of the day, people are going to die and they're going to die on their convictions. How can I prevent the people from around me How do I prevent the people around me from dying? Because people are going to die. But I don't want my people to die. I get stronger. I improve. And Luffy has been improving and growing. So I think the results of Ace's death is more so net positive. I don't think there's any negative way in which Luffy took Ace's death. There's nothing negative from it. Other than the fact that we lost a great character and, the Whitebeard Pirates lost an asset and we lost someone with amazing potential. But other than that, Ace was great for Luffy to lose because Ace was very strong. And the thing is, you have to think about all the things that were wiped away in that moment when the bees were flying everywhere. The invincibility. Ace said, I will never die, Luffy. The fact that his brother was no longer there, that's his last brother. Sabo apparently had died before. A lot happened in that moment in which, if it changed Luffy as a person, you would question who Luffy is. If a moment is able to change you that quickly, who you are, where you're not operating the same way anymore, who were you before? You have to respect someone who can maintain who they are and know who they are, regardless of the situation. Luffy knows himself more now, but he understands that strength comes with it. He understands that. And people say, Luffy, he hasn't used any strategy. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. I think running away from Katakuri as a tactical retreat is brilliant. Using the animals to jump out of the cake because that gives Brook more cover, that gives him more time to roam around. Brilliant. Luffy has been using his head a lot more. When he fought, again, the bandits at the beginning of Wano, not a lot of exertion. Pretty simple takedowns. Hold them, one shot. Very tactical and methodical how he's been going about it. He's grown. But you have to want to see it. If you go simplistically and you look at it from Luffy going from who Luffy is to being like Zoro, no, he would never be like Zoro. As far as that stoic guy who's really cool, Luffy is always going to be an emotional character, emotionally driven. That's why last chapter stood out to me so much, because I don't see the emotion here. I don't feel it. This chapter, you felt it. Because Tama was disrespected. She could be dead. That's going to strike a chord, especially because of not only her, but because of the relationship she has with Ace. It comes full circle. Understand that. Understand Luffy is emotionally driven. Not everything is going to garner reaction, but with this, oh, come on. But it's good. It's good for growth. Cannot wait for next chapter. Guys, let me know what you think. How did you feel about this chapter? Give me your thoughts on different things thematically. How they played out. Thought the art was good. It felt different sometimes. It felt like a made-up chapter, some of the art styles. But it had some amazing chapters. As far as the facial expressions of Kaido, fantastic. But let me know your thoughts. I'm interested. Leave them below. Like the video if you haven't. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't as well. That'd be dope. And I'll catch you guys later for more content like this. Peace.